Testing. Steve, can you hear me okay?
Check 1, 2, loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 1 minute.
Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, good morning, Director Rizvi. Thank you. We can hear you.
Perfect.
I have 9:30.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the regular board meeting of Western Municipal Water District. We will also be calling to order today the Western Municipal Water District's Finances Authority. At this time, Madam Secretary, if you could go ahead and read in our COVID protocols, please.
Thank you. Good morning. Pursuant to Western Municipal Water District Resolution 3245, in an effort to protect the public health, prevent the spread of COVID-19, and because state and local officials are recommending measures to promote social distancing, the public may view this board meeting virtually, via Zoom, and in person. This meeting is being live streamed at WMWD.com and will be video recorded for on-demand viewing and broadcasting purposes. As stated on the agenda, members of the public who wish to comment on any item on the agenda may make comments in person, virtually via Zoom, or by submitting comments on the district's website. Comments received on the district's website before 4:30 p.m. August 16, 2022 will be made part of the board meeting record. For those participating in the Zoom meeting who wish to provide public comments, please indicate such by using the raise hand feature, and we will call on you individually. For those participating by telephone who wish to provide public comment, you may do so by pressing *6 to unmute yourself. Phone callers can also press *9 to activate the raise hand feature. If there is more than one caller, you will be identified and called on one at a time. Any public comment will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. However, the presiding officer reserves the right to reduce the amount of time you will be allowed to speak to ensure that all members of the public have an opportunity to provide their comment. I will now take roll call for the meeting. Due to the complexity of conducting this meeting by Zoom and telephonically, I will not be taking roll call for staff members or the public at this time. Director Rizvi.
Good morning. I'm here on Zoom.
Thank you. Good morning. Director Roten.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Director Gardner.
I am present.
Director Torres.
Here.
President Dinstedt.
Good morning, I am present.
Thank you. Good morning. President Dinstedt, you do have a quorum today.
Thank you very much. So it is now time for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have a very important person today that will be leading us in the pledge, our very own Chief Financial Officer and Assistant General Manager of the district, Rod Lamont, who is going to be departing from us soon to enjoy retirement, although I don't know that the General Manager has actually accepted it. Will be leading us in the pledge today. Rod, if you would please lead us.
Board members, staff, and the public, please join me in our pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rod. We really appreciate that.
This, I've counted them. This is the 5th time in 13 and a half years that I've been able to do the flag salute. And it, as I was telling Tim and Craig, I wish I could have gotten to a half a dozen, but I'll come back. Yeah.
Hang around, we'll make that happen.
Absolutely. We can go ahead and cancel that retirement and make it happen again at the next meeting.
Sometimes as GM, you don't recognize what the most important things are to staff members, but clearly I got to rethink.
Absolutely. We
No
gotta
more raises. Just do the pledge.
do some reassignments on the pledge. Got it. Okay. And we certainly do enjoy this edition in allowing and having our staff come in and having them lead us in the pledge. It's wonderful to hear some of our staff members and how long they've been here, their job titles. And Mr. Lamont, I didn't allow you the opportunity to do your self-introduction, describe your title and your years of service with our district.
President, you had done it so well in introducing me. And I do think I have some time a little bit later on that I'll
Fair
be
enough.
thanking this board for. So
Thank you very much, Mr. Lamont. We appreciate it. All right, at this time, folks, we'll go ahead and move into public comment. This is for the time for any member of the public who wishes to address this board on any matter under our jurisdiction which is not currently posted on the agenda. If you have a comment for any agenda items, I will be calling on you upon you at that time to place your public comment. You have a limit of 3 minutes unless we have an overwhelming response, because I have a lot of people in the audience today, so I don't know if they're going to be making comments during public comment. That would be Rod's staff, or if they're going to wait until that item comes up to say a few words. So with that, Madam Secretary, do we have anybody who's indicated in the room or on Zoom that they wish to speak under public comment today?
President Dinstead, we have no requests to speak today. We did receive one written comment that was also sent to the board members. That comment actually was sent mistakenly to our district and did not relate to our agenda.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. All right. Is there any member of the board who wishes to pull any item from the consent calendar for discussion? Hearing none. Is there any member of our audience today during the public or on Zoom who wishes to pull any item on the consent calendar for discussion today?
I see no requests.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll bring it back to the dais and look for a motion.
Madam President, I will move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve and a second. And was there any member, I do have some audience members here today. Mr. Williams, did you have anything that you would like to speak on item 5D? Or, excuse me, you're on the action agenda. Disregard. Disregard
Correct.
that. I'm not going to have you comment on something you're not here for.
He might know stats.
Unless you want to.
But I don't know.
I've already made so many cross marks on stuff to make notes, I didn't read the numbers, so my apologies. All right, we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstead?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. At this time, we have items to be added to the agenda. Mr. Miller, is there anything to be added to the agenda today?
Nothing to add today.
And good morning, legal counsel. Anything to add to the agenda today?
Good morning, Madam President. Nothing to add.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to our action agenda this morning. We will start off with 7A, that is for adopting a resolution recognizing Cindy Roth for her impact to the greater Riverside region during her, 45 years career at the Greater Riverside Chamber of Commerce. I think that is quite a benchmark to meet. So, Mr. Miller, would you like to kick this item off?
I would love to. And this is a resolution recognizing Cindy Roth for her leadership at the Chamber for 45 years. To me, that's just amazing. And the only thing I can think of is she's scared to death of interviewing for jobs. So she never even tried and just stayed there. She is on Zoom. Sorry, she's here. I'll watch my comments. Sorry, Cindy. Clearly, she is Riverside business, synonymous with everyone that talks about development of business in Riverside. She served as the devoted I'll read part of the resolution. She served as a devoted champion for Riverside's businesses and a driving force for community and economic development in the region, successfully led the Chamber through an era of unprecedented growth and successful accomplishments that have garnered international attention and placed Riverside on the map. Examples of her success include relocating and opening, I don't think fully addresses the recruitment process and the wooing that went on to get CARB here to Riverside, opening of the School of Medicine at UCR, implementing a Streamline Riverside initiative and one-stop shop at the city for development and business programs. Vital in March Air Reserve Base, Cindy and I talk about every single time we see each other, what's happening at the base, and she is an amazing advocate for the base and always has been. The Chamber is the leading business organization in the inland Southern California region, is comprised of over 1,100 member organizations and representing 110,000 jobs. Served as chair of the Western Association of Chamber of Executives, which is the premier organization for education and professional development for chamber executives and staff that represents over 850 chamber professionals in 19 Western states and Canada. She's very busy, serves on numerous community organizations, so working at the chamber's not enough. The Monday Morning Group, which I've had the pleasure of presenting to numerous times, is an amazing force in Sacramento, and she is the ringleader of that activity. The Fox Riverside Theater Foundation, City of Riverside Economic Development Corporation, the Foundation, Board of Trustees of La Sierra University and the University of California, Riverside School of Medicine Advisory Council. I think to this board, she has been a critical partner for Western, and she has been instrumental in providing guidance, political guidance. We go to Cindy when we had adjustments to our drought programs, when we had to change our budgets. She was instrumental in our rate adjustment that we've gone through a couple of different times since I've been here. I'm not sure before I was here how much she played into it, but she was certainly supportive. And she's one of those people that you can sit down with and ask her strategy on how we can do this. And she's the one that says, no, I understand we have to do this to support our economy. Here are my suggestions on how to do it best so it works. So I've enjoyed working with Cindy. It's been a real pleasure. And congratulations on your service. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, President Denstead.
Well, thank you very much. And I do see that Cindy has joined us on Zoom. Cindy, I think we took probably 5 minutes doing that line of accomplishments for you. You have been, I don't know how you sleep. You have been out there standing everything up and making it happen. And we really, really appreciate that. And I would invite you to make any comments you would like to make at this time.
Madam President and directors, and Craig and the team there, thank you so much for this recognition. I will tell you, it's been 45 years. It's been an amazing ride, quite a journey. 23 years as the CEO, working with Art Pick. My first job, however, I do want to say I did have another job. My first job was working with Senator Presley when I was a junior in high school. And it all started through a work experience program. So those work experience programs, they do help students go into a career path. So I'm a Ramona Ram through and through, and so that's where it all started. But I just want to thank each of you. We just heard over the news the Colorado River, the challenges with water. Water is #1 for the future. I personally will continue to be supportive in what I can do in regards to helping individuals understand their conservation needs and what we're going to need to do for the future. I thank you, each of you, in regards to your commitment to the region for this top issue for our citizens. And I'm going to stay involved in March, so we're going to make sure we get those pipes updated, because I know you took that on for the base. And again, can't thank Western enough and the tremendous partnership with Western and Eastern. So you will still see me around in a bit of a different capacity, but it has truly been a pleasure. So thank you to all of you, and thank you for your commitment of what you continue to do for water.
Well, thank you very much. We are really sad to see you go, but hope that it leads on to a new chapter, because you certainly have been a champion for Riverside, and you've certainly been a champion for the businesses. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to public comment before I bring it back to the dais for comments from my colleagues. So is there any member of the public who wishes to comment on this item?
I have no requests to speak at this time.
Okay. I will go ahead and bring it back to the dais. Is there any of my colleagues who would like to make a comment? Director Roten.
Just briefly, because I think we've all been wowed by the things in the resolution, and Cindy, your career, the length of it, the depth of it. But something that really stands out to me is your gracious demeanor, that no matter what you have going on or how busy an event is, you make time to speak with people, you have a smile on your countenance, and it's, I'm sure, what draws people to you. And I very much appreciate that, and I know the region does as well. So thank you so much. You will be tremendously missed.
Director Gardner.
Thank you. Cindy, we've known each other for over 20 years now and have worked together in a variety of capacities. You've always been available and interested in providing a personal perspective and a business perspective on actions that need to be taken or are being considered by City Council when I was there, by Western now that I'm here. You've been a true leader, and as Laura said, even when you're asking a body to do something that is different than what they, or it's structured a little differently than what they would like to do, you do it in a way that it is appreciated, it comes across as good advice, not a "you fools can't do this," which, as you know, we hear some of. It's been a pleasure working with you. I'm gonna miss you at the chamber, and I wish you the very best in your retirement. But long as you're still walking, you won't really be retired. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Director Rizvi, did you have any comments?
I just wanted to say, Cindy, you are an inspiration. The amount of things I'm like, we read on this resolution, but we've seen you working in the community, and it's just amazing. You inspire all of us to do a better job every day. So thank you and congratulations.
And Director Torres.
Cindy, I just want to say congratulations on your retirement. Obviously, well-deserved. You deserve to take a break and enjoy whatever is the next journey in your life. I do want to thank you for your contributions to Riverside. I know that your contributions are not just leaving a legacy, but they're going to impact my children, their children, for decades to come. So thank you for that. The way that you have conducted your business, your work with such elegance is inspiring to us, us women that saw you break glass ceilings and bring people along with you. I think one of the things I admire most about your work is your mentorship of young leaders and ensuring that Riverside is taken care of for generations to come. So through PIC Group and other things. So thank you for your contributions. You'll be missed at the chamber, but like Mike said, not in Riverside, because we know you'll still be here contributing everything you've got to our beautiful city. So thank you.
And Cindy, just to, if I were to use a word to describe you, I would say exquisite. I believe that truly describes you as an individual. You stand apart from a lot of people. You are the one that goes the extra mile to get it done. And I have so appreciated our conversations. I've appreciated your support. I've appreciated getting to know the business community and understanding their challenges, their philosophies. And I know that my dear colleague, Bob Stockton, who served as the chairman of the board for the Riverside Chamber, would have had some very eloquent words for you. He spoke of you fondly. He had nothing, I mean, he really, really wanted to do his part and stand with you in that organization, and that's why he stood up to do that role. And I can't tell you the number of wonderful things that he had to say about you over the years and being able to work with you. And I know that you have ultimately had a direct impact on this organization with the staff that you've come into contact with your Leadership Academy, that you've provided all that training for a number of staff members. I know we've had a number of individuals. Mr. Barr attended that. Mr. Hadley attended that. Mike Gardner has been a part of that. We've had, I mean, we could go on and on and on about the number of staff members that have been a part of that training program with your organization and what that has brought back to our house so that we could better serve the people that we serve. So I hope you do know that most individuals that I've talked to that have moved on to retirement, because this is going to be my comment to Mr. Lamont as well, who thinks he's retiring, you know, you're a really busy individual right now, but it has a tendency to pick up even more in retirement. So I don't know why you think that you're going to go away and put your feet up somewhere, because it's just not going to happen. So congratulations to you. I wish you the very best in your future.
Thank you to all of you again very much. And I'll just say, we are staying here. This is our home, and you will definitely see me out and about. So thank you again. And I do, Western has a very special place in my heart, going back to Don Galliano and Bob Stockton. And I thank you so much for remembering Bob and his work. So thank you very much.
Okay, well, I think the only course of business at this point is to actually get a motion and a second. So can I look to my colleagues for a motion and a second on this?
Madam President, I would like to make that motion.
Second.
All right, I have a motion to approve by Director Gardner and a second by Director Torres. Madam Secretary, if we could go ahead and call for the vote.
Director Roten?
Absolutely.
Director Rizvi?
Yes, absolutely.
Director Gardner? Aye. Director Torres?
Yes, with admiration.
President Dinstedt?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Congratulations, Cindy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we get to go on to another one. This is for our in-house. Mr. Lamont. This one's for you. Mr. Miller, would you like to cue this up for us?
Sure. This is, item 7B is adopt a resolution 3247, recognizing the retirement of Assistant General Manager, Chief Financial Officer Rod Lamond. So I will read through the highlights from his resolution also. And he didn't stay here for 45 years, but we did get him for 13 years, which was very impactful on this organization, hugely impactful on this organization. And when a public entity brings in a private sector brain, the public entity can really prosper. And we have prospered from Rod's ideas and his push and his drive. So Rod has spent 13 years here at Western as Assistant General Manager, Chief Financial Officer, where he led Western's Finance Department, which consists of finance, purchasing, risk management, customer service, safety, information and technology, and the administration groups. He focused on mentoring and inspiring people to think strategically, me included. He spent a lot of time with me thinking strategically and thinking from a business perspective instead of just from a public sector perspective. Taught us to make wise decisions and influence the activities of Western with a financial stewardship mindset. The development of the back row over there, he should teach him to not sit in the back row, but Rod is foremost wanting to develop and support his team. And I'm really proud of that. I know he's really proud of that too. And growing the team, Rod, how many CPAs did we have when you got here?
Well, when I got here, we did have one who happened to be the general manager, and but we added a number of them. I think it's been 4 or 5 that we've added. And we also have a homegrown CPA and Lisa Doherty, and that is something that we're very particularly proud of, because not many governmental organizations actually create a certified public accountant in-house, given all the requirements that one has to go through. So Lisa is really, you talk about mentorship, a lot of that is, I had maybe something to do with that, but she from her own team, she got a lot of support. And hopefully we've got another one teed up, and she knows who she is. She happens to be sitting to the right of Lisa. So many more to come, I hope. Thank you.
So that was a huge accomplishment for the agency, building the credibility and the professional accomplishments of that team, and it puts Western in a much more powerful financial role to serve our customers. Significantly upgraded Western's deferred compensation plans, resulting in substantially higher employee participation. So we offer plans, that's one thing, but getting employees to participate in the plan is a whole nother thing. And we've had huge increases in participation. He was instrumental in the formation of SARA, Santa Rosa Regional Resources Authority, instrumental in securing a $31.8 million State Water Resources Control Board revolving fund for SARA, including $5 million loan forgiveness. That saved us a lot of money, obviously, and a new $55 million revenue bond issuance. Guided the financing of Western and CFD debt on several occasions to take advantage of lower interest rates, as well as issuance of new revenue bonds, secured state revolving fund loans, and private placement loans to finance critical infrastructure such as the Western Water Recycling Facility. You know it as WRF when we rebuilt that. The Chino DeSalter expansion, which we're now greatly benefiting from during this drought, La Sierra and Sterling Pump Station, and this building headquarters. And you all know this, but certainly instrumental in credit upgrades with Fitch from AA to AA+, and then to AAA, reflecting our financial health and strength. Saved us a lot of money rethinking our vehicle fleet, and instead of buying trucks, we entered in leasing programs that gets us better vehicles and saves us money. That's a good thing on two hands. Instrumental in moving the retiree medical trust investments from a low-interest short-term earning strategy to a high-interest long-term strategy, which that was fully funded. And we are one of the few organizations in this state that are fully funded, which now allows us to spend, instead of money on paying that off, we spend ratepayer money on building projects and programs and doing things to serve the customers even better. Our capital assets during his career here at Western have doubled from $343 million to over $644 million. And our cash and investments have doubled from $138 million to $275 million. That's the driver for our AAA ratings. And I will say, Rod doesn't just think financially. So we came to Rod when Jeff Sims retired and said, we were wondering, well, who's going to lead RCRA? And Rod said, I would like to try that. So here's our finance guy who's going to lead RCRA, which becomes very political, right? It's leading that JPA board. But not only that, it was his job to complete the $76 million treatment plant expansion that increased that capacity from 8 to 14 million MGD. And he redid the budget. He redid their financial planning. And it was an amazing transformation that happened at RCRA through his leadership. Who knew a finance guy could do that? I learned a lot. Developed a new meter reading and billing policy, created a reserve policy, greatly expanded our operating procedures, identified and funded odor management enhancements, and formalized our asset management program. not to mention the behind-the-scenes thing, which I think Rod has been most excited about, is when we talk about the wholesale concept and things that we can do to think private sector instead of public sector. How can we maximize all of these investments that we've made in our facilities to the benefit of our customers, not just our retail customers, but our wholesale customers? So Rod's been fantastic. I've loved working with him. He's been a huge asset to the organization. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, President Denstead.
Thank you. Rod, you want to say something? You want me to take public comment first?
Please take public comment if there is any. But I do have some comments reserved under the CFO report, so I'll be in front of you a little bit later on that one.
Okay. All right. I will go ahead and move to public comment at this time on this item. Is there anyone in our audience or anyone on Zoom who wishes to comment on this item?
I have no request to speak at this time.
Oh, come on, you guys. Really? If
They have another opportunity after the board meeting today that they may not be so shy at.
All right, all right. Well, let me put it this way. Raise your hand if you love your boss. There it is. All right. There it is. Well, Mr. Lamont, your comments? You want to?
Yes.
You still want? You still want to wait?
I'm kind
So
of
he has
reserving
comments
for a
planned
little
for
bit.
for the
All
CFO
right.
report
Okay.
later.
All right.
So maybe we could do, if there's any board comments, and
Absolutely.
save his
I-
opportunity for later.
I will bring it back to my colleagues. Is there anybody who wishes to comment on this item?
I wanted to say thank you, Rod. Thank you so much. When I got on, so working with Sora and Rikra, I had the pleasure, and Rod has been instrumental. You have helped me figure out a lot of things. So I want to say thank you. Your notes were so helpful before the meeting, your updates. So thank you so much for all that you've done for the agency, but personally getting on board with these agencies, learning about them. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for those words, Director Rizvi.
Rod, I just wanted to say thank you. And in the last year, I've just been so impressed with how you operate. And I love how Craig said at the beginning, you have a private sector brain working for a public agency. And I think that that was probably a big part of your success. And I wish I had gotten to work with you longer, but I'm grateful for the year that I've had. And I just thank you. And I think too, with that mindset, your box is very big. And I think sometimes we corral ourselves into, like, depending what department we're in, we're just all about that. But it's obvious as we hear all the different things that you've been a part of here, that you not only have a larger box, but you even go outside of that. So thank you so much for your vision, your leadership, and your dedication.
Thank you, Director Roden. We really learn from our experience, and so there's a guy up here, that's me, with a lot of gray hair, and I've been fortunate that I've had a long career. In fact, I had a long career before coming here, and it's that career, working with a lot, it's really experiencing something. I've also been an adjunct professor, and I used to tell the students that you're getting an academic understanding of something, but you really won't learn it until you have to do it. And so to where I am now is really a product of all of that experience, a lot of contributions from a lot of people. Some of those people are right here in this room. Mike Williams in particular, he and I go way, way back. We've been through a lot of things together, and I learned a lot from that man, as well as everybody here, everybody in this room, everybody in the district. It takes a community, And I really believe that. And there is no substitute for actually doing something and experiencing it. So again, thank you.
Director Gardner.
Thank you. Rod, you have a knack of making finance, which everybody recognizes is really important, interesting. And generally, finance is not that interesting unless you're a financial person. But I've really enjoyed the way you present things to the board. You do make it more interesting. I don't think we would have our AAA credit rating and another one just around the corner, I believe, without your leadership. Yeah, don't screw up. You have brought innovative ways of financing infrastructure to the district, and you've always searched for and found the least expensive way to raise the money that we need to do the things that we have to do. You have helped lead us through refinancing bond issues when that makes sense. And you saved our ratepayers a great deal of money through that. And just recently, for the first time, I think, you suggested, and the board liked your idea, of using a line of credit for financing infrastructure. And that's very unusual for a public agency, but it's the least expensive for our customers to do that. So that kind of innovation has really helped, and I know that you have passed that on to your team. So it will still come to us in a slightly different format.
And you'll likely hear, I think there's an agenda item a little bit later, but you'll hear from our financial advisor that you do not run into this approach typically in government. It is a private sector concept that has been brought in again, and it will save this district a lot of money. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and I wish you the best. I wish you wouldn't go away.
And personally, you and I did have a chance to work.
Yes.
I was the auditor at one time for the city of Riverside, and I think you and I had some chance to work together at RCTC as well. So I personally have appreciated all of that, so thank you much.
Thank you.
Director Torres.
Rod, congratulations. This is obviously very well-deserved, and I just had to note how funny it was that you nodded every time he pointed an accomplishment, just to make sure the resolution was accurate. But I want to commend you for your elite level professionalism. You have been nothing but a huge asset to this agency. Your impact is also going to last decades, well past us. I think that is something that you can walk away from here very proud of. We're we're really going to miss you, but I want to thank you for preparing a team that is going to be able to succeed you successfully and willingly. I mean, I think they all meant it when they raised their hands. But I know for sure that the lessons they learned from you are going to be endless, and again, something that you can walk away very proud of. Enjoy your retirement. Enjoy your family. I want to personally thank you for how welcoming you were when I joined the board, how easy and seamless you made understanding Western's finances and continuously the last 4 years that I've been here. So thank you for your service. I will miss you.
Thank you, Director, very, very much.
Rod, you and I have been together for the entire time that you've been here.
Yes, we have, and I have some comments later on directly on that subject. This is going to be a different CFO presentation.
Oh, no. All right, I'll be very cautious with my comments. Okay, That's going to lead me down a different path, I think. All right. No, in all seriousness, Rod, when I started with this district, finance was a very large part of it. And when you joined the team a couple of years after I had got onto this board, you really brought a different skill set to this agency. You really brought something forward that changed and pivoted our thought process and how we went about things to the benefit of this district, to better serve our customers, to be more financially secure in our future and the vision that we had for our future. So you really did shape our financial future. So I really want to give you the credit for that when you came in and brought your ideas of how to rethink and how to move through the process very differently. You have raised the professional standard within our organization. That is a testament to the team that you have in place and their education and what they have dedicated to give back to this organization is astronomical. It is worth its weight in gold. It contributes to the financial stability of this organization, which has promoted, like we've already said, our AAA rating. This is something that we tried and strived for years, and we took bites at the apple and continued to improve and continued to improve and continued to improve because of our financial stability, because of the policies that you brought forward to us, that we took that on and we acted on them. You changed our budget process, and we have saved a tremendous amount of time and energy and staffing so that we're not going from budget cycle to budget cycle. And we can now forecast things out to our future for not just our organization, but for all of the retail organizations that we serve too. They know where we're coming from and what's going to happen and better plan their financial wherewithal. So it hasn't just been inside our house, it's been outside it as well. Fully funded on our retiring medical. It's unheard of in public agencies. You can go out there and you can hear about all of the organizations that are not prepared in this realm. They are still striving for that, the GASB funding, all of those things that really bring a lot of burden and a lot of problems to public agencies, and that is off our plate. We don't have to worry about it. The CFDs, you looked at me and we penciled out refinancing those CFDs so that customers would have lower tax rates because of what we held, and that was done twice, and we were able to lower it twice. And we didn't extend the terms of the bonds. Those things are unheard of in public agencies, and it saved customers in Marietta thousands of dollars over the course of those CFDs. Sarah, you looked at me and you said, Director, I will stand with you when I was ready to go and fight the state when they turned us down on the SRF. And when we went to go and get the financing, I said, you know what? I want to make a trip. And you said, I'm there with you. We penciled that out. We worked, even when the board said, we don't think you're going to get it. And we came back from Sacramento successful and got that SRF, which saved millions of dollars for our customers. And we got that debt forgiveness from the state because of that. And you were the only one that said, all right, Director, you want to fight the good fight? Let's go do it.
I did have a general manager named John Rossi who said, get this done. And
Absolutely.
Make it happen.
No,
So-
absolutely. And you know what? And
And
John
he says,
was great.
And we need to, follow the director's lead, so don't disappoint me, is what he said. So I won't.
No, and we came back and we were successful in that. And that was huge for our customer savings. and what we did for Sarah. And so I just want to thank you for everything that you've done for this district. And I do have a question. I want people to know there is more to Rod than just the 13 years that he spent here. Rod, over the totality of your career in this financial capacity and what you've done for the private sector, for other organizations with City of Riverside, for RCTC, for all of these other organizations, what is the total amount of time that you've spent doing this in your life?
Oh, well, I started serving people when I first had a paper route, but I had a 32-year career in public accounting. I was a partner with a large firm, and I did happen to bring a few people over here with me, but they saw me in that environment. I learned an awful lot from that experience. I ran our Riverside office for a while of the firm, and I had a lot of great experiences. And I mentioned some that with Director Gardner, but Mike Williams knows that I've been involved in a lot of entities. I'm going to mention Mike again here. Mike and I first met, I think, when you were the newly elected treasurer for the city of Colton, and you said, Rod, there's something wrong with this investment portfolio, and I think I might have something missing. And so there's a lot of different experiences and different governments that I've been part of. I was for 7 years, I was the public member, of the County of San Bernardino's Audit Committee, and so I went through all of their colonies mess and all of that. I've been on various audit committees, not-for-profits, et cetera, and it's just been a great career. And it started for me, I'm gonna get back, in the mid-'70s, so I've been around a while, I've seen a lot of things, and it's seeing all those things and doing all those things that you just keep building on it, including some failures that you learn from that. But you can't overemphasize the need to experience something as a way to learn it. So it's been great. I'm not going to stop. I still have an active CPA license in Nevada and in California, and so I will be Rod Lamont CPA, different contact information. But I'm not actually giving up work, so I'll leave it at that, and thank you for those nice comments. I have something coming a little later for you.
Gosh, I'm a little nervous now. All right, well, with that, we do appreciate everything that you have done for this district, and I am looking for
Madam President,
a motion.
as the board member who has served longest with Rod, would you want to make that motion?
That would be my true pleasure. So moved.
Second.
And with that, Madam Secretary, if we could call for the vote.
Director Roten,
Absolutely, yes.
Director Rizvi, Director Gardner,
Aye.
Director Torres,
Yes.
thank you. The motion carries 4-0 with Director Rizvi being absent.
Did you want my vote?
Yes, I would love your vote.
Now I'm thinking maybe no.
President Dinstead.
Yes.
Now the motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rod, congratulations. Yes, do we want to take
Thank you
pictures?
very much, everybody.
Take quick photos? Okay. All right.
I was worried about Fazia because she.
Okay, thank you for that, everyone. We appreciate your indulgence. Moving on to 7C on our agenda, we do have a public hearing for the fees and collections of the disposal of the brine line. And Kristen is here today, but if, Mr. Miller, did you want to cue this up?
I will lead it off.
Okay.
So this is the adoption of the Inland Empire brine line rates and pre-treatment compliance fees. So there is a notice of hearing for proposed rates. It's been properly given. It was published in the Press Enterprise on August 3rd and August 10th. In addition, we have mailed letters to customers affected by the proposed fees.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and say what the script is so that nobody says that we didn't do and follow this script. So this is the time and place for the public hearing regarding the Inland Empire brine line rates and pretreatment compliance fees for fiscal year 2022 through 2023 and fiscal year 2023 through 2024. Mr. Miller already did his piece talking about it being posted in general circulation. The documents are ordered, received, and filed.
And the board is being asked to adopt the proposed Inland Empire brine line rates and pretreatment compliance fees listed in Resolution 3239. The proposed rates are reflective of a cost of service study, ensuring that customers pay an equitable share of cost for services performed to maintain and operate the brine line and operate Western's pretreatment compliance program.
The hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Madam Secretary.
President Dinstead, I have no request to speak from the audience nor on Zoom, and we've received no public comments in writing.
Thank you very much. There being no further comments, I declare the public hearing closed. The matter is now before the board for discussion.
Madam President, excuse me, if I may, as our SAPA representative, and SAPA operates the brine line, SAPA did adopt these rates. SAPA worked hard to not increase rates any more than they had to. There are some subsets of the rate package where there was no change. A significant piece of the increase comes from Orange County Sanitation District's increased costs to treat the brine line product before it is discharged to the ocean. And it's simply a pass-through of that dollar amount. So I would move approval of Resolution 3238 as presented.
Okay. I have a motion to approve. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve in a second. And I will make a comment as well. Mr. Gardner, I do know, now that you sit as the SAPA rep, that you guys are playing a little bit of catch up because we decided to push the pause button during COVID and relieve small businesses that were connected to the brine line so that they wouldn't have an increase during COVID when everybody was being impacted. So we do appreciate your due diligence in trying to keep those compliance fees and those costs down for the brine line, which is absolutely essential for a lot of businesses that are connected to that. And we do appreciate you guys doing the heavy lifting over there to make this all happen, because I know you had a little bit of a challenge because when you have to play catch up, but circumstances were what circumstances were, and that was a decision as I sat on that board at SAPA when we pushed that pause button for those rates, and it is, at some point it's got to catch up a little bit. So appreciate you doing the work over there. Okay, with that, Madam Secretary, if you could go ahead and call the roll on the vote, please.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi? Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Nay.
President Instead?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 3-1-1 with Director Torres voting no and Director Rizvi being absent.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to 7D on our agenda. This is for the adoption of Resolution 3243, approving the substitution of a credit letter for the 2012A water revenue refunding bonds. Mr. Miller.
Yeah, thank you. Kevin will go ahead and describe this item for the board.
Great, thank you. Good morning, Madam President and members of the board.
Briefly, because this item is also related to Agenda Item 8A, the record should reflect that the board is also sitting in its capacity as a financing authority.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, legal counsel. And for consideration of the board, are these two separate motions that must be taken in action?
Yes, while one presentation can be given, I'd recommend two separate motions.
Thank you very much.
Great. Well, this item seeks approval of Resolution 3243 for Western Municipal Water District and Resolution 22 for the Western Municipal Water District Facilities Authority. Each resolution approves legal documents necessary to replace the direct pay letter of credit for the 2012A revenue bonds, which is set to expire in October, and is necessary to trigger the mandatory redemption and reoffering of those bonds. The purpose of the letter of credit is a bit complicated and is explained in more detail in the board letter. But the bottom line in this case is that the bank providing the letter of credit pays the principal and interest due to bondholders and in turn is reimbursed that money from Western. So having a financial institution such as a bank first in line to make payments to bondholders gives bondholders greater assurance that they will be paid, thus lowering their risk. Lower risk means bondholders are willing to accept a low interest rate when these variable rate bonds reprice each week. A letter of credit has been in place since the bonds were issued in 2012 and are an essential part of the bond series structure. A request for proposal for a letter of credit was sent to 13 banks, of which 4 proposals were received. An evaluation of the proposals were performed by staff and municipal advisor Columbia Capital, of course represented here by Mike Williams, managing director. Based on the 4 proposals received, staff is recommending TD Bank National Association for a 5-year term based on lowest cost as well as past service experienced by Western. TD Bank is represented today via Zoom by Ken Gambone. And good news, TD Bank's annual fee for providing the letter of credit is lower than our current provider and will save Western approximately $192,000 over the 5-year term agreement. And so to proceed with the letter of credit replacement, Western's board and the Facilities Authority Board will need to adopt the respective resolution, which allows for the execution or approval of the reimbursement agreement, fee agreement, and remarketing memorandum, which are each briefly described in the board letter. All of them were either authored or reviewed by Western's bond counsel, Kim Byrons, partner with Best and Krieger. The finance team is working to finalize this replacement by early September and is available to answer any questions. And this concludes staff's report.
Thank you very much. Mr. Williams, do you have anything you'd like to share with us today?
Good morning, directors and staff. Mike Williams, Columbia Capital. It was our pleasure, again, to work on the replacement for this letter credit. Rod and staff always do a wonderful job reviewing documents. They're easy to work with. And as Kevin said, the outcome was even better than expected. The fee for this letter of credit is lower than the prior one, which is kind of unusual in these days and times. So I think, as Kevin mentioned, this is necessary because the other letter of credit expires in October. So we're doing this on a timely basis with a good result. So no other comments. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate you being here today, Mr. Williams. Mr. Gambone is on Zoom, yes? Mr. Gambone, did you have any comments you'd like to share with us today?
Mr. Gambone, you are muted. I'm sorry.
Oh, is that any better?
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. No, we really have no other comments. We're looking forward to getting the facility in place and being a continued valued partner to the district.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here today. Okay. Madam Secretary, is anyone wishing to make any public comment on either 7D or 8A?
I see no request to speak at this time.
Okay. Comments, questions, or a motion from my colleagues?
So move.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, I have a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and call for the vote on 7D.
Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi? Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstead?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 4-0 with Director Rizvi being absent.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and call for a motion then on item 8A under the Facilities Authority.
Madam President, I will make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Director Gardner and a second from Director Torres. Any further comments?
I see none.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi? Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstead?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 4-0 with Director Rizvi being absent.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on our agenda down to 7E as in Edward. Consideration of adoption of Resolution 3244.
And again, this item will also be one presentation for both the district and the financing authority with two motions.
Thank you very much.
Great. This item seeks approval of Resolution 3244 for Western Municipal Water District and Resolution 23 for the Western Municipal Water District Facilities Authority. Each resolution approves legal documents in connection with the Western Municipal Water District Facilities Authority Tax-Exempt Rate Revolving Note Series 2022A, simply stated as a line of credit, in an amount not to exceed $20 million for Western's Water Pipeline Replacement Program. Based on proposals received, the revolving line of credit bid from TD Bank National Association was determined to be the most flexible and cost-effective financing alternative for the pipeline replacement program. A line of credit will preserve operating and asset replacement reserves while maximizing funding flexibility at the lowest cost. On June 1st, 2022, Western's Board of Directors approved TD Bank's proposal for the $20 million line of credit available over the next 4 years. So this line of credit is revolving, meaning Western can pay back principal before the end of the 4-year term without penalty or fees, then reborrow that amount at a future date as needed before the end of the term. And as promised at the June 1st meeting, staff is back to gain approval for the legal documents associated with the line of credit, all of which were either authored or reviewed by Western's bond counsel, Kim Byrons. To proceed with the pipeline program line of credit, Western's board and the Facilities Authority will need to adopt a respective resolution which allows for the execution or approval of the agency agreement, indenture of trust, installment purchase agreement, and note purchase and continuing covenant agreement, which are each briefly described in the board letter. As with the previous agenda item, we have Mike Williams here from Columbia Capital and Ken Gambone from TD Bank. Finance team is working to complete the financing by the end of this month and is available to answer any questions. And this concludes staff's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mascaro. All right, Mr. Williams, comments on this item?
Good morning again. I'd just like to emphasize part of what Kevin said and Rod alluded to earlier. This line of credit is unusual. It's used in, for commercial, private industry. But I don't think it's been used before, or if it has been, it's very infrequent for a governmental agency to do this. So we actually started taking a look at this last year sometime. Rod and Kevin and I had a meeting, and Rod, as everyone knows, Rod likes to think outside the box, and so he wanted us to think about how to best, finance the engineering department's $5 million capital projects every year. And the easy thing would be, well, we'll just write a check and take it out of reserves, but reserves are hard to come by, so maybe there's a different way to do it. So we talked about doing this line of credit, and it's really taken quite a while because it is an unusual financing, and we made a presentation to the finance committee, and one of the comments were, well, can we repay this earlier? So we structured that into it also. So it was really a team effort with your staff and bond counsel, trying to figure out what the best structure of this would be, and this is what we came up with. And so I think it's really a good program that's going to work well for the district.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Mr. Gambone, any additional comments you'd like to make on this item, sir?
No additional comments from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate you attending our meeting today. Bring it back to my colleagues. Any comments?
Madam President, could we verify whether there's any public comment?
Oh,
And
yes.
if there is, well, regardless, I'm prepared to make a motion once we've ascertained that.
Absolutely. Madam Secretary, is there anyone wishing to comment on these items?
I have no request to speak at this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Gardner.
Then, Madam President, I would like to move approval of Resolution 3244 as presented.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion to approve and a second. Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi? Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Aye.
President Dinstedt?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 4-0 with Director Rizvi being absent.
Okay, and I'm looking for a motion on 8B.
Madam President, I would move approval of Resolution 23 as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Director Gardner to approve and a second by Director Torres. We'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi? Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Aye.
President Dinstedt?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 4-0 with Director Rizvi being absent.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, that moves us down to the reports on our agenda today. Moving on to General Counsel. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Madam President. I have nothing to report today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to staff reports, General Manager, Mr. Miller.
Sure, thank you. Madam President, got a few different reports today. Give you an update on Solve the Water Crisis Coalition. Since the last board meeting, I made presentations to Inside East Hills Chamber. I spoke last Friday at the BIA Southern California Water Conference. We had a very productive meeting with Dr. Kurt Schwabe this week, and we are trying to get the support of academia into the Solve the Water Crisis Coalition, so that was very interesting. We also, I spoke last night at the UCR Randall Lewis seminar. That was fun. And also sent a letter to Governor Newsom, as you may have heard. He pivoted on his speaking points on state water policy and adopted all of the speaking points that the coalition has been trying to move into state water policy. So that was a really big accomplishment, and now we focus on making sure the projects are there to support that, and the actions are there to support those words. So it was a good week, good couple weeks for Solve the Water Crisis Coalition. Next item is the North Well. The sound enclosure is completed, so that'll be going back on. And it's been a long time, a lot of due diligence on Western staff and our communications side to make sure that that goes smoothly, including a pop-up with the neighborhood, telling them exactly what's going on. So we're happy that's back. Kevin can get off our backs now to get a cheaper source of water into the North Well area. So we're happy about that. Then the final thing in my report, I'm going to turn it over to Anthony Budichin. There's another PFAS component that the regulations are going to change on. We're trying to be proactive and be ahead of that. So Anthony's going to describe to the board what's happening there in hopefully board speak, because regulatory speak is really difficult to follow for me. So Anthony, over to you.
Okay, I'll try. Derek did a pretty good job on this, so it should be good. Today, the California State Water Resources Control Board is considering adopting a notification level for another subspecies of per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, also known as PFAS. This one is perfluorohexane sulfonic acid, PFHXS. The level proposed is extremely low at 2 nanograms per liter. This is 0.0000020 milligrams per liter. That is a decimal point, 5 zeros, and then a 2. This is the same as a part per trillion. We are expecting the Water Board to adopt this notification limit this month. In preparation for this new notification level, Western staff tested our water sources. Metropolitan water from Mills is non-detect. Unfortunately, product water from the Arlington desalter has had measured levels at up to 3.2 nanograms per liter. That is above the proposed notification level. In addition, the city of Riverside has measured this substance at a level of up to 5.5 nanograms per liter. Notification levels are advisory levels that do not pose a significant health risk, but warrant notification pursuant to California requirements. Notification levels are established as a precautionary measure for contaminants that do not have established maximum contaminant levels, MCLs, or health-based regulatory levels. Within 30 days after it is informed of a confirmed detection of a constituent at a concentration above the notification level found in drinking water delivered by Western, staff will be required to notify the Western Board of Directors and may be required to notify the governing board of any local agency whose jurisdiction includes areas supplied with drinking water by the retail water system. Western will also need to notify staff of other agencies to whom Western supplies this water. Note that this notification limit has not yet been adopted. I am notifying the board of this issue so that you are aware when it is adopted. At this point, Western has no regulatory obligation to do anything about this notification level. Once the notification level is adopted, Western only has the obligation to notify this board and the agencies that receive our water. A notification level is not a regulatory limit. Regulatory limits are designated by the maximum contaminant level, the MCL. There are many steps and require time before the Water Board can adopt an MCL for any of the PFAS. Once an MCL is adopted, all water agencies will be required to implement measures to treat water to remove the regulated PFAS constituents to below the adopted MCL. It is unknown at this time at what regulatory level, if any, will be required for any of the PFAS, let alone perfluorohexane sulfonic acid. Meanwhile, staff is investigating modification at the Arlington plant to bring the product water to below the notification limit for all PFAS. This concludes the PFAS update.
Thank you, Anthony. So no MCL set. The notification level is not approved yet. We anticipate it'll be approved. That'll push us potentially, depending on what they set it at, into a notification process. It'll push most agencies that utilize groundwater into the same process. So it won't just be Western. There'll be lots of agencies that'll be doing the exact same thing. But we know this is a train coming down the tracks on PFAS. There's thousands of family members in PFAS. This is a family member. So we could go through this process numerous times. So we're giving you a heads up, just so it's on the radar screen, so it's not a surprise when that action is taken as we anticipate. So no action necessary by the board today. If there's no questions on that, I'm finished with my GM reports, and we can go to the CFO report.
Yay.
Okay, very good. Well, although I don't know.
Madam President, I would like to do my report from the lectern.
Okay.
All right.
Now we need the walk-on music. Anyone want to talk about PFAS?
Morning.
Good morning.
I want to thank you for that resolution and all of those nice words you said about me. And I hope to return that in this presentation. I don't really have any prepared notes on this, so I'm going to wing it with you a little bit. But the very first thing, besides thanking you for the resolution, is I want to thank the board for hiring excellent general managers. I've worked for two of them, and they enabled me. I mean, they listened to me. Not everybody listens to me, but they listen to me. And I think more importantly, for me anyway, is they gave me a voice in the organization. And that made me feel pretty important. And so any CFO will tell you, whoever it is in that first chair really has a big influence on them in terms of what they can accomplish and the success, hopefully, that they achieve. And a lot depends on who's in that first chair. And you put some really good people, at least the two that I've served under, in that first chair. So I want to thank you for that. I listened to everything that was said, and Craig rattled off all of those accomplishments. And as Director Oten said, I was counting them, and yeah, he got it right, yeah, he got it right. Oh, that was Gracie. Oh, whatever, I'm sorry. But a lot of people were behind me. It takes a community to go ahead and get a lot of things done. And fortunately, they allowed me to lead them in making this stuff happen. But two people in particular, who were my direct reports for most of my tenure, I got a right arm and a left arm, but it was like having two right hands, really, for me. And I need to mention them. And those directors were Kevin Mascaro and Greg Duker. So together, the three of us got a lot done. We didn't just talk about what was going on in our respective areas. We talked about how can we help the district. And that's part of that thinking outside the box, my finance people, and wait a second. Let's not just take orders on what we need to do. Let's think about how we can make things better for the entire district. And the two of them did an excellent job. And they really ran everything beneath me for me. So I wanted to thank them. On to the board. You wear many hats. I mean, you've got your constituents. You've got your community involvement. We have educational programs. We have all of those JPAs that have been mentioned, SARA, all of the effort, the extended effort that goes into that's beyond just Western. You know, you're doing things to help other organizations out. We certainly have all of our wholesale customers. We have our relationships with our neighboring agencies. And so those are a lot of different hats that you wear. But I think the tallest hat you wear, or the biggest hat, but I like to call it the tall hat, is when you come together as a board or as a committee, and that tall hat is really district governance, is how a financial person looks at it, is how a business person looks at it. That governance is so important. So as we think about the district, where we're at today, we have significantly over $100 million a year in receipts coming in, and about the same amount going out. We have a balance sheet or a statement of financial position that I talk a lot about. It's all of the things on that balance sheet are the assets that are owned by this district that are part of that tall hat responsibility. And if you restate that balance sheet, by that I mean if you take a lot of that infrastructure that was talked about, doubling since the time I came in here, and you reprice that at what it would take to replace it today, because it's going to have to be replaced at some time, you have a $1 billion balance sheet. So I'm looking at you when I think tall hat, I'm thinking, hey, this is like private sector. They're my board. That's part of that tall hat. It's all underneath them. Yes, you've got customers, you've got all, but that tall hat includes all of that activity, everything. And under that tall hat, there's a lot of people that rely on us, and we know that. So we have, some 24, 25,000 retail customers. But we have wholesale customers, and by extension, we have their customers. And so the customer count is in the thousands, many thousands that are really relying on this district. And when you think about them globally, that's all part of that top hat. How do we deliver on those commitments to those customers? And it's not just the customer. Look at the employees we have. We have north of 150 employees, closing in on 160 probably. But it isn't just them, they got families. So when you multiply that out, there's 500 plus people that are reliant on this organization to get paid, to get health benefits, retiree benefits, things like that, that we make the right decisions, not only for the customer's side, but also for the employee's side. Vendors, they rely on us too. They're providing services or providing items for us, or they're constructing something for us. And they're not all active at one point in time, but we've got our qualified vendors, meaning people that are qualified with us, number in the thousands. So when you start to think about that, who relies on this district? A lot of people, and beyond just the customers. And so there's a whole lot of constituents when you add in the employees, everybody else that the district has to, that rely on the district. So that's part of that tall hat. How do we deliver on that commitment? So the staff, the general manager, we have one business that we run. We have different activities. We have wastewater, we have water, but we have one leadership. We really have one way of doing things. So the focal point is the one business that we're in. And the tall hat you wear when you come together as a board, as committee members, to address that business. And I've given you some financial statistics. It's a huge business, and there's clearly a lot of people that rely on us. I'll give you a little graphic here. If we were talking about the x-axis, the horizontal axis, let's call that a timeline. Starting over here, moves to here. In the y-axis, I'll call that the success yardstick. Since I've been here, that, again, thinking about the success is the vertical side, the horizontal is the time slice. Started over here, year 0, and that success has been like this. It hasn't been this, it's been that. I wish my stock portfolio was like that. And you think about it, doubling of this, doubling of that, it has been like that. Not many organizations can point to that. That's called sustained success. And that only comes from the top, really, to do that. Yeah, management can do some things, but you'll see it like this, depending on who's in charge. But when you have a board that is engaged, that is focused on that tall hat, you get this sustained performance. So I want to congratulate you on that, certainly applaud you on that, because that's the board made that happen. And just think of that growth curve. And what it does for all of those people that rely on us, it enables us to deliver on the mission and make sure we have the financial capacity to always be there, no matter what happens, whatever goes wrong, excuse me. So when you come together as one, and you've made this success happen. And it hasn't been this. And it's you that made that happen. By telling us what to do, approving certain things, giving us some guidance, things like that. Director Denstad. So you said some things that I was going to say, because indeed you've been here longer than I've been here, and you and I were part of that. And when I say you and I had the great pleasure of working directly with you on a number of things. And I want to thank you for being very engaged in that, and you know you were. You were very hands-on in those experiences. Most of them were good, but one of them is you talked about the CFDs, and I know you recall this. Remember, some people got assessed wrong, and we had to kick somebody out that was working for us externally. We ended up in mediation over a claim we had against them. We clawed back quite a lot of money from them because of the mistakes they made, and then we used, Rod, Kevin, get out there, knock on doors, let's get that money back to people. So there were problems that we ran into, and we resolved the problems, I think, satisfactorily. And everybody benefited from it. So there was, but again, you were really engaged and you were hands-on. And to me, that was rewarding. I had a chance to work with you. You listened and asked for my opinion, and anybody will tell you when a board member asks you for their opinion, I mean, it's a good feeling that you get inside. So I want to thank you personally for that. There's other things I could talk about, but you mentioned many of them. And so, but that was special for me, and so thank you very much. I think that's about it, unless somebody has some questions. I know there's a lunch after this. I'm not responsible for the menu, so no promises there. But again, it's been a great ride. For me, it's not over. I'm already planning the next layer. I like to work, and I'm a good strategist, and your general managers gave me plenty of opportunity to play around with strategy. And again, as I said, opening, that is one of the best decisions that you made for this staff, is hiring the right guy to be in that first chair. So thank you much.
I think with Rod's comments, I think we were really smart in hiring the guy with the purse strings. And that was the decision, because when Rod came to this organization, you were definitely the right guy at the right time. And we certainly appreciate all the things that you've done. And yeah, I remember coming to you and not knowing how to talk to you about something that I suspected and wasn't sure how to unearth it, and was really, it was a very uncomfortable situation knowing that a miscalculation had been done and our customers were not charged correctly, and how we rectified that. And I appreciated you just coming forward and really handling that with a lot of dignity and making sure that we made it right.
I do want to add to that, and this really relates to Sura. When I got here in 2009, that problem was there, and you know that problem was there. And in fact, it was probably, and the problem is that somebody wanted to assess us a whole lot of money. Mm-hmm. And they felt that they had the power to do that. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like, oh my God, how can that happen to us? And so that was a freight train coming at us for years. It culminated with a formation at the end of 2015, November 2015, of Sura, but it was a long, hard fight. And so that engagement wasn't just going up. Sacramento was key, critical. But that long engagement, that fight through it, we looked at a lot of different alternatives. We looked at possibly joining with Eastern and taking Elsinore with us, all of that kind of stuff. And you were there from day one on that. So when I say that engagement and hands-on, I really mean that. So thank you much again.
Thank you for your comments, and we certainly look forward to the lunch.
Craig wanted to make it clear that he was not leaving intentionally in the middle
No.
of Rod's speech. He's meeting with the Riverside County mayors on solve the water crisis at 11 o'clock, and he'll have more to say at the
Right.
lunch. So.
No, absolutely, and he made me aware of that. So if the rest of the board wasn't aware of that, he had to go to that because we've tasked him with pushing out, solve the water crisis, and sometimes you got to go to the meetings at the time that they're happening, and there's no adjusting on that. So thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Mr. Barr? All right, we'll move on to director reports and requests. Moving on to our SAPA commissioner.
Thank you, Madam President. SAPA met yesterday. There were no action items. We did receive a receive and file report on the validation aspect of the weather modification pilot project, the cloud seeding. Desert Research Institute is going to do validation of the results of that study. And they'll be coming to the SAPA board for approval of a contract in the fairly near future. The other receive and file was a study done on the impact of homeless encampments on the middle Santa Ana River run. And the kind of counterintuitively, things like direct biological contamination of the water supply were quite low, but a very large trash impact, some hazardous materials, non-biological hazardous material impact, and as all good consultants do, they recommended a second phase. This was a dry weather study. They recommended a wet weather study, and as all good staffs do, the SAPA staff analyzed that and said, man, we don't really need that. So that report will be, has been published and is available on the SAPA website. It is pretty interesting. It was quite detailed. It was really good work. And it's consistent with the results of a similar study that was done a couple of years ago down in San Diego. So it does appear that homeless encampments, even pretty large ones like we have, don't have a substantial direct biological impact on water quality, but there is a clear contamination by trash, which is significant. They did not look at fire in this study. Fire, of course, changes water quality, changes watershed, changes habitat, and that is a clear issue in our part of the Santa Ana River with homeless encampments. There are literally, just in the city of Riverside, there were 162 fires that were responded to in the river bottom by the Riverside City Fire Department, and something like 80% of those were caused by people. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much for that report. The Met report, you do have the summary report from the special board meeting. I wasn't able to attend that. I was traveling to go to the CASA conference, and they kind of snuck this in at the 5th hour to try to get this going, so I'm still reviewing that information from staff. But there was a workshop that was done on the Colorado River, and as all of you have heard in the reports, we are challenged with Colorado River water supply and the mandatory reductions that have been mandated on that with the accord with the 7 states that's pulling water off of that. So that's going to be some discussion that's going to happen and more to come down the road on that. We did have our regularly scheduled board meeting yesterday that was, well, actually it was pushed off a week because of the tax rolls and the assessed values. So Western's voting share did increase by a portion. So we experienced that. Everything was passed unanimously on the board's agenda, so that was really a nice change, and I'll bring all that back the next time. One of the things that did happen yesterday is the chairwoman decided to do some new committee assignments. I was given an additional committee assignment, and I am now sitting as the vice chair for legal and claims. And so I'm honored to be asked to serve in that capacity and hope to do good work there. Okay, moving on. Chino Basin.
Water Master meets next week.
Okay, thank you very much. Chino DeSalter.
We met early this month. There were no action items taken aside from consent. There was a closed session where we agreed to retain counsel, and I think that was the reportable action.
Okay, thank you. We don't have has Director Risby been able to rejoin us on Zoom?
She has not. She will not be returning to the meeting.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on from the RCRA report. WRCOG, next meeting. Have a report then. Director Risby was also our SARA representative. We'll get a report from her hopefully next time. Aqua for the Region 9 meeting will be scheduled, and it's being hosted by Western. We have offered our facilities to Aqua 9 Region Board, so I will be meeting with those folks come on the end of the month, I believe on the 30th.
August 30th from 10 to 12.
There we go. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. Okay, moving on, we'll go to Director's comments. Director Roten, any comments today?
Sorry, I don't have any comments, but just a question. So the Region 9 meeting will be held here on?
That is correct.
And is that something we can attend?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I don't have any comments today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Director Gardner, any comments today?
Just a quick report on the CASA conference, which, Madam President, you and I were able to attend most of. There were several things that I got from it. One was an economic outlook. There was a really interesting presentation by a economic professional. He says the economic outlook overall is good. Inflation is moderating, even though it is still high. And jobs are increasing at a really dramatic rate. And he sees all of those as pluses for the future. He thinks that inflation will continue to decline, although not as quickly as any of us might hope. But he sees that as positive for investment portfolios. Stocks have performed better than expected. Bonds are also doing pretty well now. And he does not believe that the first 2 quarters of this year that many have regarded as a recession will not be officially declared as a recession. The other significant thing that happened was Joaquin Esquivel, who is the chair of the State Water Resources Control Board, was there to make a presentation to the CASA board. And I was able to talk with him after the meeting and suggested that, and this, the same day that the governor changed his water policy made that announcement, but he had not made the announcement yet. I think that Chair Esquivel was aware of what the governor was going to say. But my conversation with him was surrounding the roughly $10 million that was over-collected by the state in gas tax money, and that the administration is proposing to return to vehicle owners in the form of a several $100 check. I suggested to him that California would benefit far more if that $10 billion were dedicated to water infrastructure. Don't pick a project now, just dedicate the dollars and we'll find the project or projects as time goes on. And he said, that's a really interesting idea. I had not thought about that before, and I will bring that up in Sacramento. So we'll see what happens. The advantage is that's not new money. It's money that the state already has in its hot little hands that it intends to return to Californians. It's just that if they put it into water infrastructure, it's a long-term benefit to every Californian. If they write checks to vehicle owners, it's a short-term benefit to some Californians. So I hope that gains a little bit of traction. It is an opportunity for the governor to follow up on his commitment to doing the kinds of things that Solve the Water Crisis has been talking about, that he now said, yes, this is important, we need to do all these things, but he didn't devote any dollars to it. Here's an easy way for him to devote some dollars. So I am hopeful, although maybe not optimistic, that that might happen. And then I also attended the BIA conference on water. Craig was a speaker, did an outstanding job. Strangely talked about Solve the Water Crisis. I think that was important because it got some attention from builders who are not a significant player in Solve the Water Crisis at this point. But I think should be, they should care about water infrastructure in California, because if we can't supply water to what they build, they can't build it. So I think that was very well received at that conference. And then at the Randall Lewis seminar last evening, he mentioned it again, and significantly, Randall Lewis himself was present in the room, and there was some conversation following the presentation with Mr. Lewis about the importance of the building industry taking up this cudgel and joining that effort to try to get some infrastructure built to serve California's future. And that's it.
Thank you. Director Torres.
Just one comment. I had the opportunity to speak to the Hoopa Valley Chamber, and it was on a different topic, but I was really nice to see Laura there. Her and her city. They're a very tight knit group, and it was a nice experience. And then just one last congratulations to both Cindy and Rod on both of their retirements.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Yes, I attended the CASA conference, and Michael Hadley also joined us at that conference. And you know, some of the problems with CASA, and that's the California Association of Sanitary Agencies. So part of that is there's a lot of regulations that mandate that, and they're very expensive. And when things get put on to us, especially unfunded mandates and things that they pass, we need to inform our customers of that, because those are the challenges that we face, and that's why you have those things that come up when we have to look at how we're doing our rate structures if we're hit with these types of regulations. That's why we want to fight them before they get off the ground, so that we can deal with it and not have unnecessary things coming forward that burden our customers. So it's really critical. I know he's part of the government committee, on the federal side and watching a lot of that stuff. So really appreciate Michael's finger on the pulse there. And then the one, Director Gardner, that I saw at the conference, I was really taken back with the cybersecurity stuff. That was a very informative piece and gave us some things to think about. And they tried to be very broad and general in nature because we don't ever want to talk about inside trade secrets because that's kind of counterproductive for what we try to do. But it was very interesting to listen to these folks and listening to a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that people are not aware of for us to protect information, controls, data, a lot of those different things. And some people that unfortunately did not take it seriously in the public sector and got hit with some ransomware and some other things. So, you know, spending the appropriate amount of money and making sure that the house is secured and that we have IT in place to really safeguard all of that information are really critical. So that point was well taken. And yes, the BIA conference, I would say that the darling of the conference was definitely our general manager. He was very engaging with the audience. I think he went over his time limit because people kept asking questions, and everybody was very pleased with the information that he was really providing to them. And I think it's really important for the Building Industry Association to understand, you know, all of the city mandates that are going on with RENA numbers and housing and production and everything else. You know, it doesn't, the two hands are not talking to each other. On one side, the state is telling us conserve, conserve, conserve. We need everybody to cut back their water, yet the other hand is telling the state we need to build more housing. Well, they're not building housing without water. So these are challenges, and we need to make sure that we're partnering and everybody understands what those challenges are, and we're reaching across the table to have those conversations. So really appreciate the BIA stepping up and having those conversations and bringing the players into the room so they can understand what our challenges are in the industry as we move forward together and collaborate in partnerships with regional needs. So really appreciate that. Okay. Moving on.
Madam President,
Yes.
let me go back to the CASA conference for just a second, if I may. Your comment on the cybersecurity, I think was very good. But one thing that came out of that I really enjoyed, one of our sister agencies, like we do, they test employees and board members on phishing emails. They'll send something out and see if you catch it. In their case, if you fall for the phishing email, you are redirected to an educational website. In our case, if you don't fall for it, you get a small prize. But I thought that was an interesting way of getting people who need additional training to get exposed to that additional training.
So we do have training. I myself have fallen for it and been forced to sit through a 20, 30-minute training. So we do the same thing, but you do get rewarded if you catch it ahead of time.
I like Swedish fish.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Okay, moving to future requests for agenda items. Is there anybody that has anything they'd like to put on a future agenda? Okay, hearing none. We have information items in your packet to review at your leisure. We have no closed session today, is that correct, General Counsel?
That is correct.
Okay. Mr. Barr, anything left on our agenda that has been untouched?
Nothing on the agenda, but I will let you know that lunch is starting in the training room at 11:30.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, folks, seeing no further business before this body, we will go ahead and call the meeting adjourned, and our next regularly scheduled meeting is Wednesday, September the 7th. Thank you.